So last time we come to page 11, and we stop at almost at the middle of the page, and I would like to read it out to you. And there is, O Sariputra, an innumerable assembly of disciples with that Tathagata, purified and venerable persons, whose number it is not easy to count, with such arrays of excellences and etc. And again, O Sariputra, of those beings also who were born in the Buddha country of the Tathagata Amitabhas as purified bodhisattvas, never to return again and bound by one birth only, of those bodhisattvas also, O Sariputra, the number is not easy to count except they are reckoned as infinite in number. It is quite important that when we look at the Pure Land concept, we look at from a perspective of not only one literature. We have to look at from various other literatures about Amitabha's Pure Land. And I indicated to you last time, there are numerous other sutras that describes Amitabha's Pure Land, to which you can go to after death. And last time, I think I stopped at Vasubandhu's description of Amitabha's Pure Land. Vasubandhu was a very high-level bodhisattva who was the brother of Asanga. Vasubandhu in the Chinese language is Xichin Pusa. Asanga is Wuzhuo Pusa. Vasubandhu wrote a very important literature, which is called the hymn on being reborn into the Pure Land. And last time I stopped at half of it, and I would like to carry on now, so let's get to the next slide. Vasubandhu, who was born 320 AD, which is approximately about 800 to 900 years after the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha means the death or demise of the Buddha. He was one of the pioneers of the school of consciousness only, Vijnanavada. He gave a detailed description of Amitabha's Pure Land, and he followed the larger sutra and some other sutras and composed a hymn of aspiration for birth, a discourse on Amitabha's sutra in the Chinese language is 愿往生礼赞记 往生论. So Vasubandhu's description of his experience is threefold, and each division has various aspects. Number one is the Pure Land, a description of the Pure Land, 17 aspects of the description of the Pure Land. He described the Pure Land in detail. Usually we talk about heaven, we couldn't find a detailed description of heaven, and there it is in the hymn. And then the second fold is Amitabha's physical manifestation and merits. 8 aspects. Now we're going to cover the 8 aspects now. Let's go to the next slide. He mentioned a manifestation of Amitabha. His lotus seat is adorned with numerous treasures. Does this show the auspiciousness, the abundance, and the magnificent manifestation of what you can see in the Pure Land, in paradise, or in that heaven? The treasures is just an indication of values in there. It doesn't mean that the sentient beings, they are greedy for treasures, no. Because in order to describe a place that is so abundant, that's so magnificent, it must be very gracious and it must look very good. It has all kinds of treasures you can think of. But when you look at those treasures, you just enjoy the artistic creation, the magnificence of it, the exquisiteness of it, and not greediness to get it. That's not what it means. The second one, his majestic appearance is beyond compare. Majestic appearance relates to the body. So remember, the 5 skandhas are about every individual. We're composed of the 5 skandhas. And the 5 skandhas contain, broadly speaking, the body, which indicates behavior, the mouth, which indicates, which symbolizes speech and the mind. So the second one is manifestations of the body. The majestic appearance of Amitabha's body. It's so gigantic, so magnificent. It has a very detailed description in the hymn written by Vasubandhu. So this is just a brief, I'm just introducing to you a brief concept of what is contained in the hymn, that there's English translation for it. You can also get it from Google, a hymn of the aspiration to be born in Amitabha's Pure Land. So his majestic appearance is beyond compare. Third, his wonderful voice is heard throughout the 10 quarters. That symbolizes speech. In other words, in there, you can listen to the sound, and every sound relates to the Dharma. Every sound relates to the Buddhist teaching. Every sound relates to enlightenment. Every sound relates to nirvana, compassion. Okay, that's what that wonderful voice means. The fourth, he has no thought of impurity. In this world, all our thoughts contain impurity. We have thoughts of greediness, of hatred, of jealousy, of discrimination. But in there's no thoughts of impurity. Heavenly and human beings in the Pure Land are born out of his pure wisdom. So all the sentient beings, say for example, when I died in here, at an instance of a moment, as fast as what? Moving my elbow. That's what a description. As fast as moving my elbows very fast, the time is very fast, then I will be reborn in there in a lotus. And it's born out of purity and born out of pure wisdom of Amitabha. Sixth, his sovereign power is unsurpassed. That describes the Amitabha's manifestation as having sovereign power in that land of bliss. It does not mean that sentient beings are looking for power there, that Amitabha is powerful so that he becomes a king. He becomes a king, he becomes on top of all. That power is a power of purity. That power is a power to overcome one's evilness in one's mind. 7, he is revered by all beings. 8, the power of the vow enables those who encounter it to gain the supreme merits. That's number 8. So these are the 8 merits of Amitabha's manifestation. Now this is just broad outlines. You can always find details in the literature. Without going too deep into the details, let's move on with the other merits. Those born in the Pure Land attain Mahayana enlightenment, and as Bodhisattvas engage in all kinds of beneficial activity for the sake of suffering beings. Vasubandhu distinguished the 4 aspects of the activities. So Vasubandhu also described what Bodhisattvas are in the Pure Land. There are Bodhisattvas in the Pure Lands. What are those Bodhisattvas? If I can make an analogy between this world and that world, Bodhisattvas are like all professors in there, teaching all sentient beings there to become the Buddha, to become Bodhisattvas. Without moving, they can manifest various forms throughout the 10 directions and engage in Buddhist activities. Without moving their body, they can manifest various forms in all other Buddha lands. Second, in an instant, they can simultaneously visit all the Buddha lands throughout the 10 quarters to teach sentient beings and remove their sufferings. 一念普照功德. Third, they can illuminate all the assemblies of Buddhas and disciples and make offerings to them without discriminative thought. 无余供养功德. 4, they can visit any land where the 3 treasures do not exist to spread the Dharma as Buddhas do. 遍四三宝德. These are all contained in the literature that you can refer to later. Let's carry on because time is running short for us. And again, O Sariputra, of those beings also who are born in the Buddha country of the Tathagata Amitayas, so you should know what Tathagata means. Tathagata is another name for the Buddha. Remember, the Buddha has 10 different names, the 10 epithets of the Buddha. One of it is Tathagata. In the Chinese language, it's Ru Lai. Translation is coming and going. There's no coming, so there's no going. There's no coming, there's no going. It's easy to say it. It's extremely difficult to understand it. If you don't understand that, if you don't understand no more coming and no more going, research into it. As purified bodhisattvas, never to return again and bound by one birth only. Most of these bodhisattvas, they would never retrogress back to the world of desire. In other words, when you were born in there, you would not retrogress into transmigration again. Said if I practice, if I have the proper training, if I will be reborn in the Buddha land, in Amitabha's Pure Land, I would not retrogress back to reincarnation again. And more than no retrogression, many of the bodhisattvas there, they are only bound by one birth. Now that needs explanation. What's the meaning of being bound by one birth? 一生不处菩萨, bound by one birth. Bodhisattvas there, when they come back, they will come back as Buddha for only one lifetime. It's just like Ajita Buddha or the laughing Buddha. When you entered the temple, there's a laughing Buddha with a big belly. That is Ajita, Ajito Pusa, and that is also the future Buddha. The future Buddha now is a Bodhisattva, and he will come back here just for one more lifetime to become the Buddha, and he will be in Nirvana. Only one birth coming back. So a lot of Bodhisattvas there, they make vow that they will only come back one lifetime. Sakyamuni Buddha was bound by one birth before he became the Buddha in here. So he was reborn as a Buddha in here, in India, for one more lifetime, then he entered into Mahaparinirvana. So only bound by one birth. Remember we have the 4 levels of the Theravada school, of the Stravaka practice. The first one, Chuguo, Sotapana, 7 lives to come. 7 more reincarnations, Sotapana. Erguo, sacred garment, which is he will only come back to this world, only one more life, and he will become the Arahant. The third is Anagaman, Sanguo. He will not coming back in here anymore. He will be in Rupadhatu, not the world of desire. Rupadhatu, remember there's Rupadhatu and Arupadhatu. He will be residing in Rupadhatu in meditation and he will become the Buddha. Arahat doesn't come back anymore to this world of desire. All these bodhisattvas, they make vows, they only come back one lifetime. So there are future Buddhas coming to the world, just like Sakyamuni Buddha. Then again, all beings, O Sariputra, ought to make fervent prayer for that Buddha country. And why? Because they come together there with such excellent men. Beings are not born in that Buddha country of the Tathagata Amitayas as a reward and result of good works performed in this present life. So that is an advice of Sakyamuni Buddha to us. We should say our fervent prayer to be reborn in Amitabha's Pure Land. Why? Because all these excellent men and women come together in that country, in that Pure Land, where they are close to Buddha and Bodhisattvas, and where they learned to become the Buddha. No, whatever son or daughter of a family shall hear the name of the blessed Amitayas, the Tathagata, and having heard it, shall keep it in mind, and with thoughts undisturbed, shall keep in mind for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 nights. When the son or daughter of a family comes to die, then that Amitayas, the Tathagata, surrounded by an assembly of disciples and followed by a host of Bodhisattvas, will stand before them at the hour of death, and they will depart this life with tranquil mind. That means the sutra says, at the verge of death, if your mind is tranquil, if you're in tranquility, if you're not confused, if you don't have topsy-turvy thoughts wandering in you, then maybe for a day, maybe for 2 days, 3 days, 3, 4, up to 7 days, if you have one concentration, you concentrate in the chanting of Amitabha's name, and you have a mind-to-mind contact with Amitabha, then Amitabha, with an assembly of disciples and other bodhisattvas, will come to receive you into the Pure Land. In other words, they would directly come to you to give you the admissions to the Pure Land, not just by himself, but other assembly of bodhisattvas too. And in a lot of cases, the Buddha didn't even come, because in an instance that you'll be reborn in there, as long as you have the concentration, you have the samadhi of that recitation, of that mind-to-mind contact. So we have to make sure that we train our mind sufficient enough that at the time of death we won't be confused. Most people at the time of death are confused, because when they at the verge of death, they are so much in suffering that their mind is not concentrated. You visit hospitals, visit hospital care, you know. And sometimes, even if they are not in bodily painful suffering, they could suffer from mental suffering. They may not want to leave the world. They attach so much to the world, they don't want to let go. They don't want to let go their body, not to say, they don't want to let go not just the world, they don't want to let go their body. They want to go. They think it's unfair. It's unfair. Why do I have to die? Why do I have to leave? I still have a lot of unfinished businesses that I have to do. I don't want to leave my family. I'm emotionally attached to my family. I love my family. I don't want to go. You have to have the proper training when you are alive, that you know how to let go. Let go of everything. Because at the verge of death, there's nothing you can bring along with you. You can't even bring your body along with you. Not to say your estates, your diamond rings, your bank accounts, your house, your mansion. Nothing you can bring with you. If anything, the only thing that comes with you is your karma. You can't escape your karma. You will be reborn in the Pure Land with the karma that you created. You haven't purified your karma. We haven't purified our karma. But we brought the karma there, we learn. In other words, when we go to that university, our body will go there, but we'll also bring what we have learned to that university. What we have learned contain virtues, non-virtues, good deeds, bad deeds. What we have learned contains opinions, stubbornness, greediness, hatred, jealousy, sometimes compassion, sometimes love, a mixture of everything. But we brought it along too, to that world, land of bliss. But in there, we've slowly purified ourselves. So we still have to bring our karma with us there. But the only difference is, you don't retrogress. You're learning in there. That is a world of non-retrogression to this non-virtuous world. So that's a very practical concept. Everybody has to die anyway. Make sure that you don't roll into the next round of reincarnation, because we don't know what happened in the next round. We better go to that university where we learn to be enlightened. And sometimes people say, especially beginners, to say, is it the soul that will go over there? For sure, we can carry this body over there. This body, we shed off this body when we died. There's no option. You can't carry this body to go anywhere. And people like to argue about, how about the soul? People like to ask questions about the soul and the body. We already have talked about this a lot in previous lectures. But just for beginners, what's the relationship between the soul and the body? The soul, people like to talk about the soul. Let me give you a remark for thought. for consideration when you're at home. The body does not contain the soul, but the soul contains the body. Think about it. It's just like the world is not created by God. God becomes the world, or the world becomes God. Think about all these.